The mission of Manhattan Legal Services is to fight poverty and seek racial, social, and economic justice. We represent people in matters that directly impact their ability to thrive and to live safely in the city.
I think the greatest strength of Manhattan Legal Services is the fact that we are embedded within the community.
One of the commitments of Manhattan Legal Services is to work in partnership with community-based organizations and thereby increase our impact in communities.
Supportive housing is housing, but with supportive services, such as case management services, educational opportunities, vocational opportunities, helping with things like smoking cessation, helping with substance use issues. So the person getting the supportive housing is not just getting housing, but they're also getting wraparound services.
Although in theory, supportive housing is supposed to be this stable place where supportive housing tenants can go for an affordable place to live with these support services, in actuality, supportive housing tenants often have difficulties getting into supportive housing, and once they're in, it's very poor quality and they're living in uninhabitable conditions, or they're getting evicted and then they are experiencing chronic homelessness again. Manhattan Legal Services helps out with two bills. The first is Local Law 15, the Supportive Housing Bill of Rights. And what that requires is for every supportive housing provider to provide supportive housing tenants with a list of their rights. The second law is Local Law 3, where it orders the Department of Social Services to publish data related to supportive housing.
I want to thank Manhattan Legal Services for all that you've done for SHOUT, for getting us as far as we've come. We are now a formidable organization, and I thank you, Manhattan Legal Services, for making that possible.
SHOUT is really important in trying to hold supportive housing providers and the city of New York accountable, and also to make supportive housing better for all supportive housing tenants.
Every day at Manhattan Legal Services, we're working to reach as many low-income clients as we can.
We got the apartment together in 1981 when I was 19 years old, so my name was never on the lease. Carl was dying of lung cancer, and we were married. And then I realized we had somewhat been tricked, and we were not legally married.
Mr. Venaglia came to us in January of 2020. He had lost his long-term partner of many years. It was obviously a really hard time in his life. And in addition, he then got a notice from the landlord of the building where they had lived, stating that Mr. Venaglia had no right to remain there and that he had to move out by a certain date.
I had no understanding of the legal system. I was really frightened. I felt like the entire foundation underneath me had fallen out. I was just reminded in that moment how many options I don't have. And as Carl was dying, he would say, at least you have a place to live. When I leave, you'll have a home. At least I leave knowing that. So I felt like his legacy was going to be erased too.
Even though they didn't have, as it turned out, that formal legal tie, Mr. Venaglia still had the legal right to take over the apartment and the lease as a successor to Mr. Searing. MLS sent an advocacy letter with extensive documentation to the landlord, and rather than going to court, they acknowledged Mr. Venaglia's succession rights, which was great, so it meant he could take over the lease and the rent-stabilized rent.
When I found out that I was secure in that apartment, that I had my own rent-stabilized lease with my own name on it, it is the happiest day of my life. I want to thank Manhattan Legal Services for providing me with the most thorough, impeccable legal representation.
The city of New York is so dependent on all of its citizens, including those who are low income, to make this city work. And Manhattan Legal Services works day in and day out to make sure that those citizens have the best protected, safe and affordable housing, that are safe in their family with domestic disputes, that their immigration rights are protected.
We at Manhattan Legal Services are proud to work with our clients who show absolutely incredible bravery in the face of what are often very daunting odds.
I believe justice means fairness and equality for everyone.
Justice to me means everyone feeling seen, heard, and respected under the law.
Justice means having equal access to all the services that you are entitled to.
Justice to me means my same-sex marriage being completely acknowledged, just like everyone else's marriages.
Justice means empowerment and access to the resources and recourse that everyone needs.
We want to say a huge thank you to all of our supporters. We cannot do this work alone. We believe at Manhattan Legal Services that we are all in this together, and that true justice for anyone requires true justice for everyone. That is why we fight every day for justice for our clients.